How much money do the ultra-wealthy actually have on their bank accounts? I'm an accountant. I can't speak for the richest of the rich, but our richest client had a net worth north of $500 million. They usually had around 12 million total in their various bank accounts. Then they probably had anywhere between 20–30 million in relatively liquid assets. Then probably around the same amount in more long-term investments, and the rest was tied up in real estate and the company they founded. One year they sold a bunch of real estate and had a huge gain they had to pay tax on. They ended up owing the IRS like $3 million. I remember the absolute shock when they just casually wrote a check for $3 million and handed it to us. They would likely have a checking account at 2 or 3 banks, all with $250K, $500K. This qualifies them with the bank for elite service. Then at least one high-yield savings account with 25 million. This is their emergency fund. This also allows them to self-insure. Everything else would be invested. But each of these will have an account at a bank or financial institution. But it's not cash in the bank. You're asking about their liquidity. That's how much cash on hand they have. It can vary widely. You may occasionally see news about a very rich person selling a bunch of stocks. They do that because they want or need more liquid cash. Currently there was a news story about one of Warren Buffett's companies holding $150 billion in liquid assets. But of course, we'll never be able to see the personal bank accounts of these people. I worked for a time in the financial industry in IT, and one of first contracts I had when I went on my own was in international banking in one of the smaller tax havens. There was a racing driver who banked with us. They had millions. However, their actual bank account they could draw from was in the region of $500,000 or so. Everything else was tied up in things like guaranteed equity bonds and such. The person was rich enough that they had the best financial advice possible, so I've always taken that as my kinda yardstick. If it was in their best interest to have more than that sitting in a normal account, they would have. Usually only a fraction of that worth is in liquidity, since most would say it's foolish to keep that much cash on hand. Someone that rich might have 6 months worth of income as cash on hand. That could translate to still millions to cover unforeseen expenses and support their lifestyle. I'm more interested in knowing the amount of wealth those old money family of Europe rich has. If I'm not wrong, people like Gates and Musk are ranked the richest people, but most of those are stocks. Whereas those old money people are the ones with the real wealth, and they like to stay anonymous. After the Silicon Valley Bank collapse, I read that Peter Thiel had 50 million in it. He was unhappy that his account was only FDIC insured to 250,000. I don't know if he got it all back or not. Honestly, not a lot. Depends on the person. Most will have a few accounts spread around under the 250K FDIC limit. There's little they could do with cash that they couldn't do with credit. Every dollar is tied up in various investments and strategies of various liquidity. Any spending they want to do is done with credit and settled by their money managers and family office banks. When they need cash, usually for taxes, they have various strategies to do so to minimize losses and tax liability. Rich people don't keep more money in bank accounts than they are going to need to cover pending expenses. They keep it in brokerage accounts and short-term investments, like treasuries, which earn money, as opposed to checking accounts that may lose money to inflation. Most of it would be in investments. But also there are a lot of investments like treasury bills that are nearly as liquid as cash. So even if it's not in their bank account, a lot of those sorts of investments are basically as good as cash, since they can be sold really fast and are pretty safe, only losing money in fairly limited circumstances. Something that was popular the last couple years as a way to eat your cake and have it too was to take out loans against their investments. If you've got an investment that averages 7% gains a year and can take out a loan at 4%, it's way more profitable to take the loan than sell the asset. So you could have $2 million in stocks and borrow $500,000 against it. And then you sort of have both. You're still getting your $140,000 per year in money off your investments, minus $20,000 in interest, and have a pile of money to cover living expenses for a while. But as interest rates are rising and investment returns get harder, that's somewhat less viable. Couple of millions handy. But ultra-wealthy use ultra-wealthy banking services and keep their money safe in bonds and other cash equivalents. Real estate is also used as a form of wealth storage. They can always get an equity line on the property if they need liquidity. Unless they're doing something specific, it would never be more than a few million. If you have cash in a bank, it's losing money to inflation. Worst case scenario, they put it in bonds while they decide what to do with it. They just have all their money invested and will take loans so they don't have to pay tax on selling the assets. Buy, borrow, die. Have millions in shares and assets. Housing, land, private companies. Take out loans against assets when interest rates are favorable. Pay off interest and pocket the difference to effectively have a living wage from sound management of money. Due to having debt, reduces taxable income. Cycle continues. In 1998, I worked in a call center for a very large brokerage firm. The accounts we dealt with were investment but also bank accounts, checks, debit cards, etc. Basically all the features of a regular checking account but combined with stocks. MFs. Anyway, one day I get a call from someone worth $8 billion. They had two assets in their account, $7 billion of their company stock and $1 billion in a money market fund. Dude literally could charge $1 billion to his debit card. They have credit lines available, secured against their assets. Cash checking is for plebes. I want to know how much Bezos or Musk or similar has in their day-to-day checking accounts. Like the one attached to the card they get gas on, food, buy clothes, etc. Most of it resides in politicians' bank accounts. They collect interest from the earmarks. Nothing. They have lines of credit secured against their address with ultra-low rates. No one on this forum can answer this question. Very little. You don't need cash on hand when you can borrow against your stock.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.